If you ever camp in the Four Corners region and hear someone calling your name from the darkness, pay attention to whether they're using your full name or your nickname, because the thing that's calling might not know the difference. I wish someone had told me that before August 15th, 2023, when I took my daughter camping in the Chusca Mountains of New Mexico. I'm a wildlife biologist. I've spent 18 years studying animal behavior in remote locations across the Southwest. I deal in observable data, peer-reviewed research, repeatable results. What I'm about to tell you violates everything I know about mammalian locomotion and vocalization. But I have the recording, and I have the photographs my trail camera captured, and I have the scar on my daughter's arm where something that looked exactly like me tried to grab her. The Chusca Mountains straddle the Arizona-New Mexico border on Navajo Nation land. High desert terrain, ponderosa pine forests, elevation ranging from 7 to 9,000 feet. I'd been conducting a study on elk migration patterns there for 6 months, making weekly trips to check camera traps and collect data. My daughter Emma had been asking to come with me all summer. She was 12, old enough to handle the hiking, responsible enough to follow instructions. And frankly, I wanted the time with her. Between my fieldwork and her school schedule, we barely saw each other. So when her mother agreed to let her join me for a weekend camping trip, I jumped at the chance. We left Farmington, New Mexico at 6 a.m. Emma riding shotgun, excited, asking a million questions about the equipment, the research, what animals we might see. "Will we see any wolves?" she asked. "Maybe. The Mexican Wolf Reintroduction Program has been expanding into this area. We might get lucky." "What about bears?" "Black bears, possibly. They're usually more scared of us than we are of them." She grinned. "What about skinwalkers?" I went quiet. "Emma, where did you hear about those?" "Mom's friend Sarah. She's Navajo. She was talking about them at dinner last week. Said they're witches that can turn into animals, that they're real." Sarah was probably just telling stories. But she said her grandfather saw one, that it followed his truck for miles, running on all fours but with a human face. I kept my eyes on the road. Those are Navajo beliefs. We're guests on their land. We respect their culture. But that doesn't mean we treat folklore as fact. "So you don't believe in them?" "I believe in observable phenomena. I believe in data. I don't believe in shapeshifters." Emma looked out the window. "Sarah said that's exactly what they want you to think." We reached the trailhead around 9 a.m. The day was already getting hot. Mid-80s, climbing toward 90. But the elevation would keep things cooler once we got up into the pines. I'd camped at this site a dozen times before. A small clearing about 3 miles from the road, near a seasonal creek that still had water this late in summer. Good access to my camera locations. Isolated enough for solitude, but not so remote that we couldn't hike out in an emergency. Emma was a trooper, carried her own pack without complaint, kept up with my pace, asked intelligent questions about the landscape, the geology, the ecosystem. We reached the campsite around noon, set up the tent, filtered water from the creek, made sandwiches. "What's the plan?" Emma asked. "I need to check 3 camera traps this afternoon. They're spread out in a triangle, maybe half a mile apart. Should take us about 3 hours round trip. Then we come back, make dinner, and relax." "Can I help with the cameras?" "Absolutely. I'll show you how to download the data, replace the batteries, check the positioning. Maybe you'll be a wildlife biologist someday." She smiled. "Maybe." We headed out at 1 p.m. The first camera was easy to find, mounted on a pine tree overlooking a game trail. I showed Emma how to access the memory card, how to verify the camera was still functioning. While I worked, she wandered nearby. Not far, just exploring, looking at plants, turning over rocks. "Dad, what's that?" I looked up. She was pointing at something on the ground about 20 feet away. I walked over, saw what she'd found. A deer skull, picked clean, bleached white by the sun, but arranged deliberately, placed on a flat rock, positioned upright, facing east. "Weird," Emma said. "Did an animal do that?" "No, animals don't arrange bones like this." "Then who did?" I picked up the skull, examined it. No tool marks, no signs it had been carved or modified, just placed. Maybe a hiker. Some people collect bones. But why put it back like this? Why not take it? Good question. One I didn't have a good answer for. I set the skull down, exactly as we'd found it. Come on, 2 more cameras to check. The second camera was another half-mile northwest. Emma stayed closer to me this time. The deer skull had unsettled her. Unsettled me too, though I didn't want to admit it. This camera had captured something interesting. The data showed over 200 triggers in the past week. Oh, way more than normal. I scrolled through the images on the camera's preview screen. Deer, elk, a black bear, normal wildlife activity. Then, something else. The timestamp showed 3 a.m., 4 days ago. The infrared camera had captured a figure standing in the clearing, bipedal, roughly human-sized. But the proportions were wrong, arms too long, legs bent at odd angles, and it was staring directly at the camera. "What is that?" Emma whispered. "Probably just a distorted image. Sometimes moisture or debris on the lens can create artifacts." But I'd seen thousands of trail camera images. This wasn't an artifact. I downloaded the full memory card. We'd review the footage in detail later. The third camera was another quarter-mile north. The trail was getting narrower, more overgrown. I was about to suggest we turn back and check it tomorrow when Emma grabbed my arm. "Dad, listen." I stopped, held my breath. Silence. Complete silence. No birds, no insects, no wind in the trees. Nothing. The forest had gone quiet. In 18 years of fieldwork, I'd learned to trust that silence. It meant a predator was nearby, something big enough that the entire ecosystem was holding its breath. "Back to camp," I said quietly. "Now." We made it back to the clearing without incident, but the silence followed us. Even at the campsite, with the tent and our gear visible, the forest remained unnaturally quiet. I started a fire, partly for cooking, partly for comfort, partly because fire keeps animals away. Emma sat close to the flames. "Something's wrong. The woods feel wrong." "It's just a predator passing through. Bear maybe, or a mountain lion. They'll move on." "It doesn't feel like an animal." "Emma, I know what you're going to say, that I'm letting Sarah's stories get to me, that I'm psyching myself out. But Dad, that thing in the camera, you saw it too. That wasn't a bear." I pulled out my laptop, plugged in the memory card, opened the folder of images from the second camera. There were 47 pictures of the figure, 47 frames captured over the course of 10 minutes. In the first frame, it stood at the edge of the clearing, hunched, watching. In each subsequent frame, it moved closer, slowly, deliberately, approaching the camera in a strange, jerky gait that looked almost like stop-motion animation. By frame 30, it was close enough to see details. The body structure was humanoid but elongated. The head was wrong, too narrow, too pointed, and the eyes. God, the eyes reflected the infrared light like an animal's, glowing white in the darkness. By frame 40, it was reaching toward the camera. One hand extended, fingers too long, too many joints. Frame 47 was the last image, the figure's hand touching the camera lens, blocking the view. After that, nothing. No more triggers for 3 days, like whatever it was had shut the camera off somehow. "We should leave," Emma said. "It's almost dark. Hiking out now would be more dangerous than staying put." "More dangerous than staying here with that thing out there?" I didn't have a good answer. We ate dinner in tense silence, mac and cheese from a camping pouch. Neither of us had much appetite. The sun set around 7:30. Full darkness by 8. The fire provided light and warmth, but beyond its circle, the forest was completely black. No moon tonight, no stars visible through the tree cover. I set up my portable speaker, started playing music, partly to calm our nerves, partly to make our presence known. Most animals avoid humans, especially when there's noise and fire. At 8:45, Emma's head jerked up. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" "Someone calling, like a voice in the distance." I listened. Heard nothing but the music. You're just on edge. Then I heard it too, faint, far away, but distinct. Someone calling my name. Michael, Michael. My blood went cold. Who knows we're out here? Emma asked. No one. I filed a backcountry permit, but it just lists the general area. No one should know our exact location. Michael, where are you? The voice was getting closer, coming from the south, back toward the trail. Maybe it's a hiker who's lost, Emma said. Maybe they need help. Stay here. I grabbed my flashlight, walked to the edge of the clearing, aimed the beam into the darkness. Hello? Do you need assistance? The voice stopped. Then, after a long pause, Michael, help me. I'm hurt. Something about the voice. It sounded like me, not someone calling for me, someone imitating my voice, speaking with my inflection, my cadence. Dad, that's not a person, Emma whispered behind me. Get in the tent, now. But now. She ran to the tent. I heard the zipper, heard her scrambling inside. I kept the flashlight trained on the darkness, kept watching. The voice came again, closer, maybe 50 yards away. Emma, where's your father? I can't find him. It was using my voice to call for Emma. She screamed from inside the tent. That's not you. That's not my dad. The voice changed, became Emma's voice, perfect mimicry. Dad, I'm scared. Please help me. Coming from the darkness, from the direction opposite the tent. I'm right here, Emma, I called back. I'm at the fire. That's not me out there. Don't leave the tent. Dad, please. It's so dark. I'm lost. My daughter's voice. My daughter's fear. But my daughter was safe in the tent behind me. Whatever was out there, it was trying to separate us, trying to lure one of us away from the safety of the camp. I need you to understand something before I continue. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't jump to supernatural conclusions. But standing there, listening to something in the darkness, mimic my voice and my daughter's voice with perfect accuracy. There was no animal that could do that. No human who could have known enough about us to replicate our speech patterns so precisely. The voice circled the camp, always staying just beyond the firelight, always moving, sometimes mine, sometimes Emma's, sometimes a third voice I didn't recognize at first. Then I realized it was Emma's mother, my ex-wife, calling from the darkness. Michael, where's Emma? You said you'd keep her safe. Where is she? How did it know her voice? How could it possibly know what she sounded like? Unless it had been watching us, listening to us, learning, the trail cameras, the skull arrangement, the unnatural silence. This thing had been following me for weeks, maybe months, studying me, learning my patterns, my relationships, my vulnerabilities, and now it wanted something. What do you want? I shouted into the darkness. The voices stopped. Silence. Then, from directly behind the tent, a whisper. So close I could almost feel the breath. To where you? Emma was crying. I could hear her through the tent fabric, trying to be quiet, trying to be brave, but crying nonetheless. I backed toward the tent, never taking my eyes off the darkness, never lowering the flashlight. I'm coming in, I said. Don't open the zipper until you hear my voice right outside. Okay. I reached the tent, kept the flashlight pointed outward. It's me, it's Dad. I'm opening the zipper now. How do I know it's really you? Smart girl. Remember what you asked me this morning? About what animals we might see? You asked about wolves first, then bears. Then you asked about skinwalkers. I said I don't believe in them. You said Sarah's grandfather saw one. What did you tell me it looked like? A pause. Then, it followed his truck, running on all fours but with a human face. That's right. Now let me in. The zipper opened. I threw myself inside, sealed it behind me. Emma grabbed me, held on tight. What is it? What's out there? I don't know. But we're staying in this tent until sunrise, no matter what we hear, no matter what it says. We don't open this zipper until we can see daylight. Understand? She nodded against my chest. Outside, the voices started again. But different this time. Dozens of voices. Men, women, children, all talking at once, overlapping, creating a cacophony of human speech with no source. And beneath the voices, movement. Something circling the tent. I could see shadows passing across the tent fabric, blocking the firelight. Multiple shadows, multiple figures. But we'd only heard one voice at first. Only one thing calling. Unless there was more than one. Unless we'd stumbled into territory claimed by several of them. Midnight. The voices had continued for hours, never stopping, never repeating. Just an endless stream of mimicked speech. Sometimes familiar voices, sometimes strangers, sometimes languages I didn't recognize. Emma had fallen asleep despite the noise, exhaustion finally winning over fear. I stayed awake, watching the shadows move across the tent, counting them, trying to determine how many were out there. At least 5, maybe more. They moved wrong. I could see that even through the tent fabric. Their gait was too fluid, too animal, but bipedal. Like humans who'd forgotten how to walk properly and were relearning from memory. At 1 a.m., they started touching the tent, light pressure at first, like fingertips brushing the nylon, then harder, pressing, testing the strength of the material. I put myself between Emma and the tent wall. If they came through, if they tore the fabric, I'd be the first thing they reached. But they didn't tear it, they just pressed, like they were trying to understand what the tent was, what separated them from us. At 2 a.m., the touching stopped. The voices stopped. Even the shadows went still. Complete silence. I waited, every muscle tense, every sense straining. Then I heard it, right next to my ear. So close there couldn't have been more than an inch of nylon between us. Breathing, slow, measured, calculating, and a voice. My voice. Whisper quiet. I know you can hear me, Michael. I know you're listening. I've been watching you for months. Every time you came to check your cameras, every time you walked these trails alone, I learned you, your patterns, your habits, your voice. I didn't respond, didn't move. And now you've brought me something precious, something I've been waiting for, a child, young, healthy, perfect for wearing. Emma stirred against me, still asleep but sensing my tension. She'll scream when I take her, they always do, but only for a moment, only until I figure out how the vocal cords work. After that I'll sound exactly like her, walk like her, move like her, and you'll never know the difference. Not until it's too late. You can't have her, I whispered back. I don't need your permission. I just need you to make one mistake. Open the tent 1 second too early. Turn your back at the wrong moment. Fall asleep. That's all it takes. And I'm patient. I've been patient for a very, very long time. The breathing moved, circling around the tent, always close, always pressing against the fabric. Do you know what we are, Michael? Your science can't explain us. We're the gap between human and animal, the space where one becomes the other. We're old, so much older than your species. We were here when the first humans walked upright, watching, learning, mimicking. We're evolution's mistake, the predator that became too good at imitating its prey. So good we forgot what we were, so good we can't go back. All we can do is wear, borrow, take. And when the flesh fails, when the stolen body breaks down, we move on, find another, wear it better, learn from our mistakes. I held Emma tighter. She was waking up now, eyes opening, mouth forming a question. I put my finger to my lips. She understood, stayed silent. 6 more hours until sunrise, Michael. 6 more hours of holding on, of staying awake, of protecting her. Can you do it? Can you stay vigilant that long, or will you slip? Just for a moment? Just long enough? 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. The voice continued, sometimes talking, sometimes just breathing, sometimes scratching at the tent with what sounded like nails on nylon. Emma stayed pressed against me, silent, shaking. I recited multiplication tables in my head, focused on the numbers, anything to stay awake, to stay alert. At 5:30 a.m., I saw the first hint of light, not sunrise yet, but pre-dawn. The darkness beginning to lift. The breathing stopped. The scratching stopped. The pressure against the tent released. I heard movement, rapid, retreating. Multiple figures running away from the camp, their footsteps changing as they ran, from bipedal to quadrupedal, from human gait to animal sprint. Within 30 seconds, they were gone. The forest went quiet again, but a different quiet, natural quiet. Birds beginning to wake, insects resuming their songs. Emma looked up at me. "Is it over?" "I think so. But we wait until full sunrise. We don't take chances." We waited. Watched the light grow. Watched the tent fabric change from black to gray to the pale orange of dawn. At 6:15 a.m., with the sun fully above the horizon, I opened the zipper. The clearing looked exactly as we'd left it. Fire burned down to coals, our cooking gear neatly arranged, nothing disturbed. Except the ground around the tent. The soil was covered in footprints, dozens of them, human-shaped but wrong, toes too long, heel too narrow, claw marks at the tips, and in the dirt directly in front of the tent entrance, a message, scratched into the soil with those same clawed fingers. Next time? We packed in silence, didn't speak, didn't look at each other, just threw everything into our bags and started hiking. Emma stayed within arm's reach the entire 3 miles back to the car. Didn't wander, didn't explore, just walked. We reached the trailhead at 7:45 a.m., threw our gear in the trunk, got in, locked the doors. I was about to start the engine when Emma said, "Dad, your camera, the one at camp. You forgot to get it." She was right. In our panic to leave, I'd abandoned the camera I'd set up to monitor the campsite. "It's fine. I have others. I'm not going back for it." "But your research, the data." "Emma, some things are more important than data." I started the engine. We drove away. Neither of us looked back. 2 weeks later, I received a package. No return address, just my name and address written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a memory card. My memory card. From the camera I'd left at the campsite. I almost threw it away. Almost. But curiosity won out. The scientist in me needed to know, needed to see. I plugged it into my computer, opened the folder. 417 images, time-stamped from the night we'd camped. The first 50 showed our arrival, setting up camp, Emma and me moving around the clearing, normal documentation. Then, the visitors. They came at dusk. 5 of them, moving into the clearing on all fours. But as they approached the tent, they stood, rose up on 2 legs, became bipedal. But their proportions were wrong, arms hanging too low, spines curved at unnatural angles, heads tilted at degrees no human neck could achieve. The camera captured them circling the tent, captured them pressing against the fabric, captured them scratching messages in the dirt. But the final image was the worst. It showed one of them looking directly at the camera, close up, its face filling the frame, and it was smiling. With my smile, with my exact facial structure, my eyes, my nose, my mouth. It had already started learning me, already started becoming me. The image was time-stamped 5:59 a.m., 1 minute before sunrise, 1 minute before they'd fled. In the bottom corner of the photograph, scratched into the camera's metadata by something that understood technology better than it should. A message. "See you next time, Michael. I'll be wearing someone you know." I'm a park ranger at Canyon de Chelly National Monument in Arizona. I've worked here for 23 years. I know every trail, every ruin, every sacred site within the canyon boundaries. What I didn't know, what nobody tells you when you take this job, is that some of the hikers who disappear aren't lost. They're taken, replaced, and sent back. And the thing that comes back wearing their skin is almost perfect. Almost. But not quite. It was 9:42 a.m. on October 3rd, 2023, when I realized one of our missing hikers had returned. By 11:15, I understood that what came back wasn't the same woman who'd vanished 3 days earlier. Canyon de Chelly is different from other national monuments. It's entirely on Navajo Nation land, sacred space. The Navajo people have lived here for thousands of years. The cliff dwellings, the petroglyphs, the ruins, they're not abandoned history. They're living cultural sites. As rangers, we're taught to respect that. We're taught the rules. Stay on designated trails. Don't disturb artifacts. Don't photograph certain areas without permission. And most importantly, if a Navajo guide tells you not to go somewhere, you don't go there. Not because of park regulations, because of something deeper, something older. I learned that lesson 23 years ago when I first started. An old Navajo woman named Mrs. Begay sat me down and explained. There are places in the canyon where the worlds touch, where what should be separate bleeds together. We have words for the things that live in those places. You call them legends. We call them warnings. If you see something that doesn't make sense, footprints that go nowhere, voices with no source, shapes that move wrong, you leave immediately. Don't investigate, don't rationalize, just leave. I'd nodded, thought she was being overly cautious, mixing cultural beliefs with practical safety advice. 23 years later, I knew better. Rachel Morrison went missing on September 30th. 34 years old, experienced hiker, solo traveler from Seattle. She'd checked in with me that morning before heading down the White House Ruins Trail. Standard procedure. I logged her name, her planned route, her expected return time, told her to stay on the trail, respect the barriers around the ruins, and be back before dark. She'd smiled. Don't worry, I'm not the adventurous type. I stick to the marked paths. That was the last confirmed sighting. She should have returned by 4 p.m. By 6 p.m., I'd initiated a search. By midnight, we had 20 people combing the trail. We found nothing. No sign of her. No dropped items. No evidence she'd even walked the trail that day despite my log showing she'd started down it. Day 2. We expanded the search, brought in dogs, checked every side canyon, every alcove, every possible location she could have gotten turned around. Nothing. Day 3. We started considering foul play, interviewed other hikers, checked security footage, contacted her family. Her sister told us Rachel had been struggling with depression, that this trip was supposed to be healing, a spiritual journey to reconnect with herself. We kept searching, but hope was fading. Then, on the morning of Day 4, October 3rd, she walked into the visitor center like nothing had happened. I was at my desk when she appeared, looked up, saw her standing in the doorway. Rachel, she smiled. Hey, sorry if I caused any trouble. I stood up, moved toward her. Where have you been? We've had search teams out for 3 days. I got turned around. Ended up in one of the side canyons. Lost track of time. I'm really sorry. Something about her voice. It was right but wrong, like someone doing an impression of how they thought she should sound. You've been missing for 72 hours in a desert canyon in October. How did you survive? I had water, some snacks, found shelter. Like I said, I'm really sorry for the trouble. I studied her face. She looked exactly like her driver's license photo. Same height, same build, same blonde hair, same blue eyes. But something was off. Her expressions were slightly delayed, like she was thinking about how to arrange her face before actually doing it. We need to get you checked out medically. Make sure you're okay. I'm fine, really. I just want to go back to my hotel, take a shower, rest. Rachel, you've been missing for 3 days. Protocol requires... I said I'm fine. The way she said it. Flat. No emotion. No relief at being found. No embarrassment about causing a search. Just flat. Sit down, I said. Please, I need to call off the search teams. Let them know you're safe. And I need to file a report. It'll take maybe 30 minutes. She hesitated, then sat in the chair across from my desk, hands folded in her lap, posture perfect. Too perfect, like someone mimicking how they thought a person should sit. I picked up my radio. All teams, this is base. Missing hiker has been located. She's safe. Return to station. Relief flooded through the radio responses. 3 days of searching, dozens of hours of volunteer time, and she just walked back. I turned to Rachel. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. Start from when you left the visitor center on September 30th. She told the story slowly, deliberately, like she was reciting something she'd memorized. She'd hiked down to White House ruins. Beautiful day, clear skies, perfect temperature. She'd taken photos, enjoyed the scenery, started back up around 2 p.m., but on the way back, she'd seen a side trail, unmarked, narrow, leading off to the west. I know I shouldn't have, but it looked interesting. I thought maybe it was a shortcut back to the parking area. There are no shortcuts off that trail. Any deviation leads deeper into the canyon. I know that now, but at the time, I wasn't thinking clearly. I just followed it. The side trail led her deeper into a narrow canyon. She realized her mistake after maybe 20 minutes, tried to turn back, but the trail had disappeared, like it had never existed. So you were lost for 3 days in a side canyon, and you didn't try to signal for help? I did. I called out, but no one came, and my phone had no signal. We had helicopters overhead, search teams on foot. They would have heard you. She looked at me. Maybe they weren't looking in the right place. We searched everywhere. Clearly not everywhere because I was there and you didn't find me. Her tone had shifted, less apologetic, more defensive, almost aggressive. I changed tactics. What did you eat? What did you drink? There was a spring. I filled my water bottle and I had some trail mix in my pack. Can I see your pack? I left it where I was staying, in the canyon. You hiked out without your pack? I was tired. I just wanted to get back. I wasn't thinking about gear. None of this made sense. An experienced hiker wouldn't abandon their pack, wouldn't leave essential equipment behind. And 3 days in the desert, even with water, she should have shown signs of exposure, sunburn, dehydration, exhaustion. But she looked perfect, fresh, like she'd just stepped out of a hotel room. Rachel, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Did you encounter anyone else while you were lost? She went very still. What do you mean? Other hikers, locals, anyone? No, I was alone. You're sure? Yes. But the way she said it, the way her eyes didn't quite focus on mine, the way her hands tightened in her lap. She was lying. I made a decision, called Mrs. Begay. She still consulted for the park despite being in her 80s, cultural advisor, liaison with the Navajo community, and someone who'd seen things in this canyon that couldn't be explained. She arrived within 20 minutes, walked into my office, looked at Rachel. Her expression changed immediately, went from friendly to guarded in an instant. She spoke to Rachel in Navajo, rapid sentences I couldn't follow. Rachel stared at her, didn't respond. Do you speak Navajo? Mrs. Begay asked in English. No. Your registration form says you're part Navajo, 25%, that your grandmother was from Tuba City. That's right, but I never learned the language. Mrs. Begay walked slowly around Rachel's chair, studying her. What's your grandmother's clan? I don't know. She died when I was young. But you claimed Navajo heritage on your park permit to get the reduced fee for tribal members. Rachel's face went blank. Yes. My sister handled the paperwork. I don't remember exactly what she put. Mrs. Begay looked at me. Can I speak with you outside? We stepped into the hallway. Mrs. Begay pulled the door almost closed, kept her voice low. That's not the woman who went missing. What? That's not a woman at all. My skin went cold. What are you talking about? Did you notice how she didn't blink? Not once in the entire conversation. Humans blink. Roughly 15 times per minute. She hasn't blinked at all. I thought back. She was right. Rachel's eyes had remained open, unblinking, staring. And her breathing. Watch her chest. It doesn't move. She's not breathing. I looked through the gap in the door, watched Rachel sitting motionless in the chair, her chest completely still, no rise and fall, no respiration. What is she? You know what she is. You've worked here long enough. You've heard the stories, the warnings. A skinwalker. Mrs. Begay nodded. It took her. 3 days ago. Killed her or absorbed her or whatever they do. Learned her, studied her, practiced being her, and now it's sent itself back, wearing her skin, playing her role. Why? Why would it do that? Because it wants to leave. The canyon is bounded, protected. The old ways still hold here. But outside it can move freely, hunt freely, become whoever it wants. And it needed a legitimate identity to get out, needed someone who could walk through the gates without suspicion. Mrs. Begay looked grim. The question is, what do we do about it? We couldn't call the police. How would we explain? We couldn't detain her without cause. We couldn't even legally prevent her from leaving. All we could do was stall, keep her here long enough to figure out a plan. I went back inside. Rachel was still sitting in the same position, hadn't moved an inch. Rachel, I need you to come with me to the medical station, just a quick checkup. Make sure you're dehydrated or suffering from exposure. I told you I'm fine. It's required, for liability purposes. If something happens to you after we let you leave, the park could be held responsible. She stood. Fine, let's make this quick. We walked to the medical station, a small building near the visitor center. Basic first aid supplies, a cot, a phone. The seasonal medic, a young woman named Jennifer, was waiting inside. I'd briefed her on the situation, told her to keep Rachel occupied while I made some calls. Jennifer started a basic examination: pulse, blood pressure, temperature, pupil response. I stepped outside, called the tribal police, explained the situation as carefully as I could. You're telling me you think a missing hiker is actually a skinwalker? The officer sounded skeptical, but not dismissive. This was Navajo Nation. These beliefs weren't treated as jokes. I'm telling you something's wrong. She's not acting human, not breathing, not blinking, and Mrs. Begay confirmed it. Mrs. Begay saw her? Yes. A pause. Okay, I'll send someone, but this is complicated. We can't arrest someone for being suspected of being something that officially doesn't exist. I know. I just need backup, in case this goes wrong. 20 minutes. I hung up, went back inside. Jennifer looked pale. Her pulse is 43 beats per minute. Her temperature is 94.2. And when I tested her reflexes, nothing. No response at all. Rachel sat on the exam table, watching us, smiling that wrong smile. I can hear you, you know, she said. I'm right here. You don't need to whisper. Rachel, your vital signs are concerning. We need to transport you to a hospital. No, it's not optional. You're showing signs of severe hypothermia. You need immediate medical attention. She slid off the table, stood. I'm leaving now. You can't stop me. Actually, as a ranger, I can detain you if I believe you're a danger to yourself or others. I'm not dangerous. I'm just a hiker who got lost, who wants to go home. Why are you making this so difficult? Because you're not blinking. Because you're not breathing. Because every instinct I have is screaming that you're not human. Sit down, Rachel, please, just until the tribal police arrive. Her expression changed. The smile disappeared. Something else showed through, something cold, calculating. You know, don't you? You figured it out. I didn't respond. The old woman, she told you, what I am, what I've become. I don't know what you're talking about. She laughed. The sound was wrong. Too high-pitched at first, too low at the end, like someone adjusting the pitch on a recording. I'm still learning. The vocal cords are tricky. So much nuance, so many subtle vibrations required to sound properly human. She tilted her head. The angle was too severe, too far. But I'm getting better. With practice, you won't be able to tell the difference. Jennifer backed toward the door. I moved to block Rachel's path. What did you do to the real Rachel? I needed her, her memories, her identity, her access to the outside world. She smiled. She's still here, in a way. I'm wearing her thoughts along with her skin, everything she was, everything she knew. It's all mine now. Where is her body? Scattered across the canyon, hidden in places you'll never search. Small pieces in dozens of locations no one will ever find enough to identify. My stomach turned. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm leaving, and you can't stop me. There are rules, boundaries, the old protections that keep my kind confined to certain spaces. But those rules, they only apply to us in our natural form. When we're wearing human skin, when we're using human names, we can cross freely. She walked toward the door. I grabbed her arm. Her skin was cold, too cold, and beneath it I felt movement, like something was shifting under the surface, reconfiguring. She looked down at my hand, then at my face. You shouldn't have touched me. Now I've learned you too. Your scent, your warmth, the rhythm of your heartbeat transmitted through your grip. She leaned close, whispered, "Next time I need a new skin, I know exactly where to find you." She pulled free, walked out the door. I didn't stop her. The tribal police arrived 15 minutes later. Too late. Rachel, or the thing wearing her, was gone. Checked out of her hotel, drove away in her rental car. Mrs. Begay sat with me in my office. We didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she said, "You did the right thing, letting it go." Did I? That thing is out there now, wearing a dead woman's identity, hunting. If you'd tried to stop it, if you'd tried to force it to stay, it would have killed you. Killed Jennifer, killed anyone in its way. At least this way, no one else died. But Rachel's family, they think she's alive. They think she just got lost and found her way back. Would it be kinder to tell them the truth, that their daughter was killed by something that shouldn't exist, that a creature is wearing her skin? I didn't have an answer. Mrs. Begay stood. "I'll arrange a ceremony. Blessing for the canyon, protection for the boundaries. It won't bring Rachel back, but it might prevent this from happening again." Might? The world is changing. The old ways are fading. Young people don't believe anymore, don't follow the rules, don't respect the warnings. And when people stop believing, when the protections weaken, these things slip through more easily. She left. I sat alone in my office, pulled up Rachel's file, looked at her driver's license photo. She looked so normal, so human, just a woman on a hiking trip. No idea she'd wander into a space where the rules of reality bent, where something older and stranger than human understanding waited. I thought about calling her family, warning them. But what would I say? Your sister's dead. The woman using her name is a monster. They'd think I was crazy. And maybe I was. Maybe this job had finally broken me. 23 years of protecting a park that harbored things that shouldn't exist. 23 years of looking the other way, of filing reports that omitted the truth, of watching people disappear and knowing what really happened to them. 3 weeks later, I got a phone call. Seattle Police Department. Rachel Morrison had been found dead in her apartment. Apparent suicide. She'd left a note apologizing to her family, saying she couldn't fight the darkness anymore. The detective wanted to know if I'd noticed anything concerning about her mental state during her visit. Any signs of suicidal ideation. I told him she'd seemed fine, happy even, excited about her trip. Not technically a lie. The real Rachel probably had been happy. Before something in the canyon took her. After I hung up, I pulled out the map of Canyon de Chelly, marked the location where Rachel had entered, the White House Ruins Trail. A popular route, dozens of hikers every week. Then, I marked the locations of every disappearance in the park's history, every unexplained vanishing, every person who'd walked into the canyon and never came back. They formed a pattern, clustered around specific areas, the places where Mrs. Begay said the world's touched, where something else could reach through. And the pattern was growing. More disappearances in the last 5 years than in the previous 20. The boundaries were weakening, the protections failing. I made another decision, updated my incident report on Rachel's case, added a recommendation. Close the White House Ruins Trail during October. Increase ranger patrols in the affected areas. Require all hikers to travel in groups of 3 or more. Administrative changes that might save lives or might just delay the inevitable. Because the thing that took Rachel, it was out there now, living her life, using her name, accessing her bank accounts, communicating with her family. And when that skin wore out, when the borrowed body began to fail, it would come back. Back to the canyon, back to hunt, looking for fresh skin, a new identity, another chance to walk freely in the human world. And maybe next time it would remember me. Remember my scent, my warmth, the rhythm of my heartbeat. Maybe next time I'd be the one who vanished, who got replaced, who came back wrong. The thought keeps me up at night, makes me check my reflection constantly, looking for signs, for changes, for evidence that I'm still me. Because that's the thing about skinwalkers. Once they touch you, once they learn you, you never know when they might decide to wear you next. I still work at Canyon de Chelly, still log hikers, still file reports, still send out search teams when someone goes missing. But now, when they come back, when they walk into my office with a story about getting lost and finding their way, I look for the signs, the missing blink, the still chest, the too perfect posture. And I wonder, is this the person who left, or is this something else? Something wearing their skin so well that even I can't tell the difference? The answer terrifies me, because sometimes I honestly can't tell anymore.